Hello and welcome again to another powerful webinar as we continue to talk about the various principles of leadership. Today we're going to talk about intentional course. I am Tanya Looter Gordon, and I am so excited to be the moderator today for this webinar. And just to give you just a little information about myself, I am a graduate of Spelman College. I am the owner and CEO of Lobby Development, where we offer professional leadership training under the umbrella of business development. We also provide the largest procurement conference in the Long Island, New York region for over 1,000 attendees who come to find ways to do business together, from suppliers that are certified women, minority, and veteran, and buyers that come from Fortune 500 corporations, governmental agencies, small and major companies, as well as nonprofit organizations. This has afforded me an opportunity to be able to engage with businesses, and that is my core competency, really being a consultant in that area to help business owners not only learn how to have a positive impact on their business bottom line, but how to have a more abundant life. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much money you make, you have to feel fulfilled and happy. And I am fortunate enough to be married to a wonderful husband, Elder Calvin Gordon. I am now going to turn over to my sister, who will now give you her background.
Greetings and welcome, and congratulations for taking the intentional step to move your life forward, whether it is business, whether it is personal. There is something here for you. My name is Rosalyn Looter Aaron, and I too am a graduate of Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. I've attended Hofstra University in Hempstead, Long Island, New York, as well as the University of Phoenix. I'm licensed and certified by John Maxwell as a motivational speaker, personal and professional coach, as well as leadership trainer. One of the things that excites me more than anything is facilitating success in leadership mastermind study groups. I often say that I was born in Apple. I too was born in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up on Long Island, and somewhere along the way, I am a peach now because I reside in Georgia. Well, my husband was also born in Georgia, but he grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm a peach now. I was born in Apple, and I picked up a Buckeye along the way. And for that, I am very, very excited. So one of the things that I would say is that I'm an author. I'm very, very excited about that. I released my first book, and I've also written a play. And all of those can be found on The Jig Is Up Moving Forward. That is my website. I am so fortunate, and I'm crossing back across the field because I can't do my husband justice just by mentioning his name. His name is Walter Michael Aaron Sr., and he is a jewel of a husband. God has blessed our union with 6 wonderful children over 3 decades, and we have 13 grandchildren. January 1st, 2019, this year, Michael and I have been married for 41 years. And to that, I say, to God be the glory.
Well, Rosalyn, thank you for that very rich information that you provided us with. Dr. Looter.
Well, thank you, Tanya and Rosa. And perhaps first and foremost, what I'd like to say is maybe one of my major achievements is that I'm the older brother of these 2 ladies who you're watching on the screen. My name is Andy Looter, and I am a native New Yorker, born here in New York. Grew up, graduate of Long Island High School, Oberlin College, Harvard University with a master's degree and a doctoral degree from United Theological Seminary in Dayton, Ohio. I like to say that I have been able to put together over 60 online courses. I've written a couple of books, and I'm just so excited to be here with 2 of the finest ladies that I know.
Well, I thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Looter, but I would be remiss if I did not let our audience know that you are a best-selling author. And
Yes.
that is a major accomplishment, and we are so proud of that. Now, let's really delve into this subject matter because we have a lot of information we want to share with you, and we just know it's going to have a major impact on your life. So, Rosalyn, I'm going to start with you. What do you consider a plan for personal and or professional growth or development?
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for that question. The first thing that I would share is that the longest distance between 2 points is a shortcut. And the reason I say that is because when you take a shortcut in your intentional course, otherwise known as your process, when you take that shortcut, you don't get to go back to the step that you missed. You have to go back to the steps that preceded that. And what I can say to you is that when you do that, that impacts your time utilization. And most of us already know time is money. So I would say when you have laid out what your plan is, stay the course, stick with it, and see it all the way to the end.
Great, great, great. Dr. Looter, will you now share with us some of your thoughts of the subject matter?
Sure, I'd be delighted to. And what I'd like to do is re-emphasize two of the things that Rosalyn has talked about. She talked about plan and she talked about process. Friends, and I'm hoping that you take notes because, listen, we're attempting to give you so much information that we're hoping that you record so that even once this video or this webinar has been completed, there is some information you can go back to and continue to apply to your lives. Rosalyn talked about plan and process. And I want you to put this picture in your mind. I want you to put in your mind the picture of a tent. And under this tent is a 3-ring circus. Now, I spent a lot of time in Ohio, 20 years in Ohio, and every year a major circus would come to town and they would pitch their tent right on the state fairgrounds in Columbus, Ohio. And of course, in this 3-ring circus, they had multiple things going on. One going on in this circus, in this ring, another item going on in this ring, another item going on in the 3rd ring. But here's what's important. None of those rings of activity could take place if the 2 poles in the tent did not prop up the tent. I am suggesting to you that plan and process are the 2 poles that will prop up your tent so that the 3 rings of activities can take place in your life.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. Now, I'm going to share this with you. You're going to find that one of the characteristics of the training that we're going to offer you tends to tell stories, give example, anecdotes, because we have found that that resonates with people. And when we're sharing important points for you to be able to incorporate in your life for success, sometimes it'll be easier for you to go back and remember the story, because that will help you with identifying what principle you need to pull on for whatever particular situation you're in. You both agree with me, my brother and sister? All right. Okay, great, great, great. Now, and you're going to love the interaction because you're going to see more and more with us because we're very formal right now. But you're going to start to see more of the engagement of the brother-sister plural interaction. You're going to love it. And that's going to make you want to see us even more and more. Now, Rosalyn, back to you. Is your personal and professional growth a continuation of progress from the previous day?
Well, Tanya, that's a great question because it is a must. It is an absolute must. The only way that you can effectively go through the process is by evaluating what you've already achieved or by identifying where you're having some breakdown in that process of what it is that you are trying to achieve as a goal. So, should you should you have reservations or hesitation, if you will, as it relates to going back and evaluating where you have been, it will become all nearly impossible, or should I say highly improbable, for you to effectively plan moving forward. The only way that you can move forward, you have to know where you are. You have to know what you're dealing with, what your challenges are, and what your victories have been, so that you can build on the positive and minimize the negative in order to move forward.
Oh, great. As they say, good stuff, good stuff. All right. I'm going to now turn over to you, Dr. Looter.
Building upon the positive and minimizing the negative. That's what Rosalyn said. Building on the positive and minimizing the negative. So what I want to insert at this intersection of our conversation is building blocks, building blocks. And I want you, again, to picture in your mind the toy set that you had when you were a youngster, and how you could not build an item high without building it on top of that which already existed. And so I want to suggest to you that building blocks are so very, very important. Now, I do a great deal of public speaking. And one of the areas that I talk about in public speaking is the area of forgiveness. And not too long ago, I made a presentation, and one of the points that I made in that presentation was that you have to learn from the pain.
Yes.
No, you have to learn the lesson and let go of the pain. That's how I really want to say it. Learn the lesson and let go of the pain. Now, I want you to apply that to this situation. Take every moment to learn the lesson. Let that be your building block. And then let go of anything that might detract, that might minimize, that might take away from the success that you're pursuing.
That's good. That's good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another great example that we can certainly add to our lives immediately. Now, Rosalyn, let me ask you this. If you have a team, is it important to discuss new intentional courses in order to achieve a higher goal?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Tanya. The beauty of a team is having the benefit of others who can bring their thoughts, their ideas, and their creativity to the table, because we don't know everything. And that's the reason that it is so important to surround ourselves with individuals who are good at things and even better at things than we are, because eventually it's contagious. It rubs off. So when they're really good at something, then we have an opportunity to learn from them, and we can get good at it too.
Yes, absolutely. Doctor, I know you can't wait to chime in.
Well, I want to kind of bring up some of the experiences of our collective past. My younger sister, Tanya, was a part of a cultural group called the Venettes. And they used to compete in modeling contests, both as youngsters and even then later as teenagers. My sister Rosalyn sang in a college singing group, appeared at Madison Square Garden. I was involved in scholastic wrestling. Here's the point that I'm trying to make. Every last one of us bring the experience of being on a team. So we learned early on that it is not our solo performance that gains the victory, but it is our contribution to the collective. It is our input into the team that brings about success and victory. Now, let me remind you, if you win the Super Bowl or if you win the World Series, it is not just the offensive team that gets a ring, nor is it just the defensive team that gets a ring. Here's the reality. The reality is everybody gets a ring.
Yeah.
Why? Because it takes defense, it takes offense, it takes trainers, it takes coaches, it takes managers, it takes the front office, it takes the sales team, it takes the person selling the popcorn, all to get the victory. Understand that if you're part of a team, It takes everyone. It is teamwork that makes the dream work.
That's good. That's good.
That is great. And just what I was going to say, Doctor, what was said, and that is what is important. It is the team that makes the dream work. Absolutely.
That's right.
Now, Rosalyn, I'm going to come back to you. Can you share, and I'm going to ask you to do it in its entirety, and then we will go directly to Doctor to be able to expound. But I'm going to ask you to really delve deeply into the area of the 5 phases of leadership growth.
Okay. I am going to give you what these 5 areas are in short order. Number 1, I don't know what I don't know. That's number 1. It's acknowledging that you don't know, that you don't even know what it is that you don't know. The second thing is, I need to know what I don't know. The third thing is, I know what I don't know. Well, see, that puts you a little ahead of the curve, because when you know what you don't know, then you have at least a basic opportunity. You can Google it. You can ask somebody else. She's like, I don't know this. Can you share this with me? Can you help me to understand this? The fourth thing is, I know and grow, and it shows. Because when we know that we know that we know, some of us get a little full of ourselves and say, well, we know, and it shows. Because people are drawn in when they know that what you have to offer is going to benefit them, because it is something that you are fully aware of, something that you are engaged in, and you know, and it shows. The last thing, of course, is I simply go because I know. Now you're ready to launch, because now that you do know what it is that you know, you are ready to begin. You are ready to launch. You're ready to start that journey that is going to take you where you want to be.
Wonderful, wonderful. Doctor?
Well, if you would allow me to offer and add an illustration to the perfect model that Rosalyn has outlined and shared with you. And I'm hoping that you've taken those items down, that you recorded those items, so that even after this webinar is over, again, you can go back to those things, you can lift those things up, apply them to your lives so that they will make a positive difference in your life. So here's what I want to insert. From my days in junior high school, I became fascinated with martial arts. That was probably right around the time that Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly and some of the other martial artists were becoming very, very popular, especially amongst youngsters. And so in junior high school, I began with Taekwondo. And then, of course, that continued through high school. And then even when I went away to college, I continued to study that particular art form, that particular discipline. And it was a discipline. But here is what I learned. I learned that there were various degrees in studying this martial arts. And what you learned on one level contributed to what you would learn on the next level. And what you learned on that level contributed with what you would learn on the following level. So you began with a white belt, and then the white belt, you would graduate to a yellow belt. And then from a yellow belt, you would graduate to a green belt. From a green belt, you would graduate to a brown belt. And then once you mastered the level of the brown belt, you were admitted into the fellowship of the black belt. So here's what I'm saying to you, that as you develop your leadership, as you look at fulfilling your potential, understand you're not born a black belt. You're not coming here with everything already in place. So affirm, lean into your white belt, your yellow belt, your green belt, your brown belt, and your black belt. And use every opportunity, every level, every experience to contribute to pushing you to the next level.
Awesome.
And
that's good.
Great.
Yeah.
Just excellent anecdote. Great. Rosalyn, I'm going to come back to you now. What is the difference between being in charge of a group and being an effective leader?
Okay, Tanya, thank you for the question. Being in charge of a group generally centers around one individual, knowing what it is that they want to achieve or they want to accomplish, and them having a strategy or goal that is already set in place in their mind as to how they're going to achieve that goal. When we are, let's see, I'm sorry, give me the second part of that question again, Tanya.
Okay, I'm going to give you the whole question. What is the difference between being in charge of a group and being an effective leader?
Okay, so I spoke on the individualism that goes on with being in charge of a group, because many times when we're put in charge, what we determine is that I have to have all of the answers. This is the goal. So in order to reach the goal, I need to do this, 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 and this. In that process, I designate what it is that I want different individuals to do. The difference between that and being a good leader is being able to allow others to weigh in, to bring their creativity, to bring their ideas to the table. Here again, we don't know everything. And when we want to achieve a respective goal, it is always a good idea to explore what others are thinking, because everyone does not think in the same way. But the upside is this: the more we explore what others are thinking, that will weigh in on what it is that we're doing. Because so many times, and you'll learn this as we go forward, one of the things that we know is that everybody has a different level of success in different areas. It is our job to determine who's the best at what. And in that process, everybody wins at the end of the day. So that is the major difference between just delegating, say, you do this, and you do that. And the difference between that and, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts? What would you do in this case? So the biggest difference is going from everything is centered around what I have planned to allowing the group to come into the room and to weigh in and sit at the table.
Oh, Rosalyn, you did a wonderful job. Really making clear what the distinction is between both of those aspects of one's characteristics on leadership, effective leadership, and also leading a group. I think that was wonderful the way you did that, Dr. Looter.
Well, Tanya, one of the reasons that I've dressed the way that I've dressed today is because I wear multiple hats in ministry. I'm a local pastor, have been doing that for nearly 40 years. And in addition to that, well, maybe not quite 40, but since the mid-70s. And then I'm also privileged to be one of the founding bishops of the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. Shout out to Bishop Paul Morton. Shout out to Bishop Joseph Warren Walker. But even though both of those are religious titles, the functions and the purpose of both of those are quite different. As a pastor, I am leading followers, people who are likened, a congregation is oftentimes called a flock. And so in that capacity, I lead a group of, metaphorically, sheep as a shepherd. But then as a bishop, I am ministering to pastors. These are other leaders. And so my objective is not to get them to follow, but my objective is to perfect their leadership so that they can be most effective with those who are following them. And that's the kind of collaboration and the kind of dualism that I see here. So in one capacity, you are leading those who are following. But in another capacity, you are leading leaders so that they can be more effective in their relationship with their followers.
Great. Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful. I think both of you did an excellent job dealing with that. So now, Rosalyn, I'm coming back to you. what are some of the sacrifices required to reach your goals?
Wow, Tanya, that's a great question, because there are so many variables that are involved in that question when you say sacrifices. As entrepreneurs, most of us know that it is not a 40-hour week. We are going to be working somewhere in the neighborhood of about 60 to 80 hours a week, because we get up before others, we go to bed before others, and so much is riding on us making the most of our time that we have to really, really sacrifice, in some cases, some of the other things that we might like to do. We might not get to go out as much as we used to go. We might not be able to watch television as much as we would want to watch television. I love Law and Order, the original Law and Order, but I quite frankly, every time the binge-a-thon comes on, I try to catch some of it, because there have been years that I have just not been able to watch that. To give you another example, almost 8 years ago, I was diagnosed type 2 diabetes. And when I was diagnosed, I knew that I was going to have to make a sacrifice. Now, the sacrifice was really a benefit, because by changing my diet, by exercising, and these are sacrifices, because I love macaroni and cheese. I love Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I love cookies and all that other kind of stuff like that. I love sugar, but it just doesn't like me. Oh, well. And so those are some of the sacrifices. And then, of course, there's the 6 o'clock in the morning, getting up to get out to go to the gym. Not crazy about it, but I want to live. There's a benefit in the sacrifice. So it's not just physical, it's not just emotional, it's not just mental, but it is also, it can take time away from your family. Resources. There are a plethora of things that you will eventually sacrifice in order to stay the course, to get where it is that you are trying to go.
Oh, great. Now, Doctor, what are some sacrifices you've had to make in order to reach your goals?
Sure, and I'd like to enlarge upon what Rosalyn has been talking about, because what Rosalyn has talked about, and she even made mention and referenced it so clearly and so accurately, and that is the sacrifices that she's talked about are sacrifices that benefit self. Sometimes self-sacrifice leads to self-benefits. I'd like to enlarge that discussion to also suggest that some of our sacrifices, while it may benefit us, it also could benefit others. Let me see if I can be a little more specific. The older I became, the more resolute I became about making sure that my parents were comfortable in their latter years. As I got older and learned the circumstances and the sacrifices that my parents made in terms of my own raising and my own being, my own reality, I wanted to reciprocate. I wanted to make their latter days as comfortable and as convenient as possible. I wanted to work that they could remain in an environment and in an atmosphere that they not only was familiar with, but it did not strain their emotions. Now, to do that, I had to make some sacrifices because I did not live in New York. So I had to sacrifice what was convenient, what was comfortable. I had to sacrifice, to some degree, revenue and income. I had to sacrifice the existing job of that time. But because I had a goal, and because I saw that my sacrifices positively contributed to the accomplishment of that goal, watch this, I was willing to make the sacrifice for the fulfillment of the goal. And so oftentimes the sacrifices that you make, while they may benefit you, they very well may benefit the people around you. The tradition that I belong to says, honor thy father and thy mother. Not only will their days be long, but it will lengthen even your days. So when your sacrifices are devoted to a realistic goal, You don't mind making the sacrifice because you're fulfilled by the goal.
That is, yes, phenomenal, phenomenal. And really, being here and seeing the sacrifices you've made, certainly you enrich the lives of both mommy and daddy in the latter part of their life. They wanted for nothing. They
Absolutely.
had wonderful comfort and loving family and friends around them, and members of the church, and you really help facilitate that. And I'm just so glad you use that as one of your anecdotes, because it gives us an opportunity to say thank you, brother, because he is now the patriarch of the family, and he has earned that title. He has certainly done that. So, Rosalyn, I'm going to come to you now. We just have a few more questions that I'd like for us to address today. Now, Rosalyn, can you share how it is this principle of intentional course which may be taught to others?
Oh, I'd absolutely love to. The first thing that I would say is that in pursuit of teaching others this principle, which is really a discipline of intentional course, when it comes to teaching others, it must be done from the inside out. It must be internal, they must embrace it, and it must be very, very real in order to walk it out. One must have a plan. And I've actually heard my brother say this, and I've heard it before. If you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. So reflect daily, drill down on the how, what it is that you're going to do. Evaluate and determine how you're going to make it happen. There might be some tweaking that will be required along the way. However, the most important thing is to remember the planning. Decide what it is that you want. There used to be 5 questions. Number 1 is, what do you want? A dream is a goal with a date on it. When do you want it? What are you willing to give up in order to get what you want? Are you willing to be around people who have what you want, who are doing what you want, in order to glean more information in order to get what it is that you want? And then finally, have a plan. Work that plan. Work it, and keep on working it. And that is exactly how you can empower others from the inside out to achieve their goals.
Wonderful, wonderful, Bishop. Dr. Looter.
Well, I would like to say and insert at this juncture that in addition to the wonderful things that Rosalyn has already outlined, let me also add that object lessons are also very, very important.
Yes.
And let me share with you, and I know at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to do some lessons on memory, because one of the areas that I kind of see myself in is helping people improve their memory. And one of the things that I say is that the mind is built on recalling pictures and concepts. And so if you can create and assemble a series of pictures, it will help trigger the kind of memories you're trying to retain. Let me give you an example real fast. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I were to say, what is the first thing you remember? What is the second thing you remember? What is the third thing you remember? That, because it's not tangible, because you cannot see it, it becomes very, very difficult to recall. But if I say to you, pole 1, door in, out, 2, traffic light, red, yellow, green, 3. Now, anything that I associate with 1, 2, and 3, as long as I paint the picture using a pole, using a door, using a traffic light, it will help you recall that. Let me see if I can help you. Old Testament, New Testament. If I were to say, what are the 2 sections of the Bible? You may be a bit pressed to remember what that is as an intangible. But if you see in your mind that there is a New Testament on the inside of the door and an Old Testament on the outside of the door, then you know that there are two parts of that book. One is Old Testament, one is New Testament. Why? Because you've triggered the picture that now stimulates your mind. Use object lessons in your leadership development.
Oh, listen,
That's good.
I can't wait until we really explore with you the opportunity on how to improve your memory. Dr. Looter has a photographic memory, but he has come up with a concept on how to help anyone utilize the tools that we already have on how we can have this instant recall, I would say. So we are really, really, really looking forward to really embracing that subject matter. And I think everyone is going to make that a part of their library, because that's something you can incorporate immediately, and it will amaze you how your memory will improve with that, because we're all at that age now where I don't know about you, but I'll tell you, if I'm in a conversation with someone, I say, let me make my comment right now. Let me make it now, because I might forget it. But utilizing those tools will help you from being a disruptor in a conversation you have with someone, that you can hold on and retain the memory of what you have. So Dr. Looter, we look forward to those courses, bringing that to you. Okay, so now we're getting down to our final question, and then we'll have final comments. Rosalyn, I'm back to you. You're back. You're batter up. You're batter up now. Okay. How do you help others develop into effective leaders with the principle of intentional force?
One of the things that I would say, Tanya, is that the secret to our success as it relates to process, intentional course, is our daily agenda. I can say this, and permit me to deviate just a little bit. I'm recalling the services that we had when our father passed away. And on more than one occasion, I heard individuals echo what our father said to me on numerous occasions. Write it down, write it down, write it down. All of us don't have a photographic memory. And for that reason, it is important to be able to go back and have a record. I heard Tanya say that. You have a living document. You have something that actually reflects what the conversation was about. Having a daily agenda is huge when it comes to that secret to success. The last thing I would say is this, and Tanya can probably identify with this. She can probably identify with this. When our mother started a travel agency in 1966, when we became of a certain age, we would ride with her in the summers going to the agency. And I don't care when it was, how early it was, my mother would say to me, Lolly, write this down. Rosalyn, write this down. She would give us that day-by-day book, and we would write it down. That was her daily agenda. And she would go down that list, and as she would execute the items on that list, she knew that she was closer to her goal because she wrote it down, because she knew that the secret to her success was in her daily agenda and following through.
Great. Dr. Looter?
Well, I want to celebrate and affirm what Rosalyn has just really poured into you, and that is write it down. Because it is so very, very important that we record our thoughts so that our thoughts can contribute to the accomplishment of our goal. We've been talking a great deal about family, and my father wrote it down. One of the reasons he would say to Rosalyn, write it down, is because this is advice that he took himself. Now, this is not a commercial for the book. Of course, if you contact us, we'll make sure that you get a copy of the book for your library. But not only did he make this counsel and this advice to her to write it down, it was something that he did personally, where he wrote down the highlights of his life.
Yes.
Following suit with that, this past year, I have written a book entitled Use Your Keys. And this is based upon, and many of you will know the person that I'm talking about, Tasha Cobb recorded a song about Break Every Chain. And at the outset of that song, she does this exhortation. And in this exhortation, she says, use your keys, use your keys. Now, let me tell you why that's important. It's important because when I first heard the song without the exhortation, I, like so many of you, assumed that she was talking about breaking every chain with her brute strength, with her flesh, with that which was within her. But when I heard the exhortation, use your keys, it occurred to me that she was not suggesting that you break your chains with your brute strength. She was suggesting that if you had access to the right keys, you could unlock the padlocks that were holding you down and holding you back. So your ability to emancipate yourself, to free yourself, to liberate yourself is not dependent upon your flesh, not even dependent upon the purity of your mind, but your ability to free yourself and to break your chains is gaining access to the right keys that will unlock those things that are holding you down and holding you back. So as you pursue your goals, as you seek to be a more effective leader, use your keys. Discover what those keys are. Again, this is not a commercial about my book, but if you contact us, we'll make sure that you get a copy. Use your keys to accomplish your goals.
Wonderful, wonderful. And yes, it is a wonderful read, and I personally suggest you take the time to get your keys. It will add great value to your life, to your family, to your friends, to your loved ones, to your centers of influence. And I definitely am proud of you, as I know Rosalyn is, with writing such a wonderful, wonderful book. Well, we have now come to the end of another webinar. We have enjoyed doing this for you. Certainly, we congratulate you and thank you for taking the time that you've stayed with us. We're sure that this is of value to you. We still have an extensive library of webinars to offer you, but certainly this is a very special webinar, and we appreciate you. I am going to now go to Rosalyn first for her closing comments. Then we'll go to Dr. Looter, and then I will just take a moment or two to sign us off for this webinar tonight, for today.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya. In closing, I would encourage you, continue to log in, continue to attend these masterful webinars. The content is priceless, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. So stay the course. Continue to join us. We look forward to having you.
Thank you. I want to personally thank Rosalyn Looter Aaron and Tanya Looter Gordon for joining me in this enterprise. And I'm hoping that you are enjoying what we're giving to you as much as we are enjoying making it available to you. We have committed ourselves to spending time, to coming together on this platform so that we can do this multiple times, so that as we build out our library of offerings, there are additional items that you will be able to put on your shelf that is a result of our efforts. We do this because we value you. We do this because we love you. We do this because we feel that we have a mandate upon our lives to give back, to take that which has been given to us and to share with others as well. Listen, thank you so very, very much. We look forward to seeing you real soon.
Well, as I sign off, I'm going to get on Dr. Looter, because that's my life. That there's a mandate on our life, and I'm taking that back, because there is, and we have our own lives, and that's mine. But listen, you know, when you cannot put a brother and sisters together and they're not going to have some fun with each other. And certainly we have enjoyed coming to you, doing this. We love each other. We love you. And yes, there is a mandate on our life, because we feel that our parents have poured so much wealth in us, and we want to be able to share it with you on how you can have a much more abundant life, both personally and in your careers. Because when you're enriched and you're happy, you will make people around you happy, and that at the end of the day, I don't care how much money you make, you have to be happy and feel fulfilled. Thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait until we see you next time. We sign off saying bye-bye.